Welcome to Charm Conversations, an interview series that focuses on meeting some of the individuals in the hypnosis community and finding out a little bit more about them. I'm Sai. I'm going to be your host through these conversations, and I've had the benefit of meeting quite a few interesting individuals, both stateside and internationally, who I felt were great individuals to speak about what they see in the community, what got them started in hypnosis, and why they're here. So let's take a few minutes, talk to each one of them, get an idea about where they see the community going, where it's been, how they got started in hypnosis, and how they're just like the rest of us, looking for an interesting time and figuring out the human mind. Charmed is a convention focused on hypnosis and education, and it's coming back as Charmed Online 2021 next January. Pre-convention starts on January 14th, with the actual convention running the 15th through the 17th of January. Tickets are on sale now up to through the convention weekend. You can get your tickets through November 30th for the low price of $15, with the price increasing to $25 on December 1st. So act today and save yourself a little bit of green for the holidays. Members of Black Rose and other kink organizations may receive a $5 discount, so check at the registration site for details. One of the best parts of this price is that it also includes the pre-convention and any evening events, which makes it a great price for a weekend that focuses on education, demonstrations, and bringing new and old ideas into the hypnosis community. So feel free to swing over to charmedhypno.org and register today. That's charmed, CHARMED, hypno.org. So why don't you guys go ahead and just kind of introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about what your resume is for the community. Like, where did you start? What's going on? How does everybody know you?
No.
You go.
Why me first? Everyone always makes me go first.
You're the impressive one.
I'm not the impressive one. Clearly, then you should go first.
No.
Oh, fine. Okay. Hi. I'm the Secret Subject. For people who don't know me, I am a certified hypnotist, and I'm also a hypnokinkster. So I make erotic things on the internet. I also educate people on hypnosis topics with my YouTube channel. And yeah, I do this full time on Patreon. So I'm very lucky to be able to do what I do all the time. Yeah, that's kind of me. Yeah, go.
Hi, I'm Alicin. I guess I've just been around for a bit. I'm currently doing a certification course.
Woo!
Just to get more knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I also go around teaching. People don't know we're dating.
Yeah, we're very gay.
Yeah.
This is important.
So yeah, we occasionally go to cons together when we can. Teach. We've done a couple of classes here as well.
Yeah. Here being New Zealand, by the way, we live in New Zealand. It is a long way away from the conventions, but we don't care. My fear of flying will not stop me from connecting with people, god damn it. Yeah. How did you get started in Alice?
Oh god. I don't actually remember how I originally got into hypnosis. But yeah, I guess sort of the main places I started is actually Kik. That's one of the places where I started getting to the community more. And then from there, I sort of fell into Discord and all of that.
Yeah.
And
I'm kind of the same. I started, I first started trying hypnosis when I was in high school, but it was very vanilla in high school. And when I was 18, I was like, oh my God, I can do all the porn stuff now. Woohoo! And I started looking into erotic hypnosis. And then I found myself in IRC chat rooms and things like that. Thought I was a submissive. Things changed a lot. So
just like how you thought you were straight.
I know. I thought a lot of things back then that were not actually true. So hooray. But yeah, it's kind of been such an adventure kind of watching the community grow and
change.
It changed a lot over those few years. Hey.
Yeah.
Because we're a lot older and a lot wiser now.
Yeah.
Well, we like to hope. Anyway. Yeah.
I think that Alice, you undersell yourself because, I met you guys both at the Hypnosis 101 class that you did at Charm this last year.
Yes.
And, I mean, between the two of you, you make just such a dynamic duo in the teaching experience. I mean, so friendly, so open, so capable of just taking any question from anybody. I mean, I don't think anybody was shy in the class by the time you guys were done. We were all friends and all just like super excited to try the bimbo juice. It was amazing.
It's free and easily accessible at the back of the room.
Absolutely. It looks like water, but really it's not.
Yeah. I always love to pull stuff like that out, though. I mean, I think for us, though, the reason why we like to have, especially because like 101 is our favorite thing to teach. And I think for me, it's always been super important to provide a really good fundamental basis of hypnosis.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people just going around the community, not understanding how it works, not being able to explain how it works. And if they don't know it themselves, then what are they doing to other people? So,
and there's a lot of, at least from what I've seen, there's quite a few people who just go around reading scripts.
Yeah.
Like they get the magic words and they always use it. They have like there are 2 inductions that they use, and one of those is the infamous 90-minute progressive muscle relaxation induction. Which I actually met someone who said that she takes at least 90 minutes the first time she ever induces someone. So yeah, I feel like when we do a 101, we really like sort of stripping it back to how do you get someone to trance, and instead of feeding people the words, actually saying like this is the theory behind it so that you can craft your own inductions out of pretty much anything afterwards.
Yeah. We're like pretty experimental, hey?
Yeah.
Like I've always felt like a lot of what I do as a hypnotist is based on the fact that I love hypnosis myself. I have a passion for it. I've had a passion for it for such a long time. And I've done a lot of experiences myself as a subject that I then take into my hypnosis experience. And I just love being able to kind of experiment and play with different things and kind of see, okay, if I do this, what's going to happen? Okay, then if we take it here, what's going to happen now? You know, and I think if we can give that to more people, then I think there's kind of just more room for people to grow and try stuff and realize that, you know, hypnosis is far more complicated, but it's also far more scientific than I think we give it credit for sometimes. Yeah.
Cool. And the fact that your content is always so varied, so across the board on so many different subjects. I mean, you talk about the fact that, you know, there's only so many inductions really in the world, so many ways to do it. But the stories that you tell, the ways that you do things is always so much fun because it makes it a new experience every time. There's so many people out there who are just the same monotone voice walking you through relaxing. But you always have some fun story with it, or you'll have some theme or thematic aspect that really adds a lot of flavor to it. So, you know, that's always a neat thing, especially with you guys, because it's different. And you stand out for that reason, I think. I think your community loves you for that.
Oh, thank you.
So,
and, you know, I think it brings much more joy to it if you, like, love what you do. And you always are keeping it fresh for yourself. Because, I mean, for me, I've made, I think I found out the other day, I've made about 400 files in the last 4 years. I know. So we're averaging like 100 a year at this point. And I think that to be able to produce that amount of content and it still be like exciting and new every single time, I think is insane. I don't know how it's happened like that. Yeah, I'm literally mad. Yeah. So
hey, the depths of kink go very, very deep. We understand this.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean, we kind of touched on the subject, but when it comes down to like new people in the community, I know you like to. You mentioned that you really enjoy doing the 101 or 101 classes. But I mean, what's kind of some advice that you have for people who are just starting out, who are just getting their first taste of hypnosis, or might be a brand new person to like a hypno convention?
What's your advice, babe? I'm gonna throw her into the bus.
I don't know. Just sort of, hypnosis is a skill. Like when I was first starting out, one of the things that I wish I knew was that hypnosis is definitely a skill. Like the first few times you do it, you're like, if you have these expectations from seeing other people doing it, even, or like what's in the media and all of that, you might think it's some sort of like fantastic experience where you're just going to completely black out and not know what's happened for the last half hour. But for most people, it's not like that. And you have to sort of take it at your own pace. And yeah, like don't expect a miracle. Like, so it could be a miracle the first time you try it, but also it's very likely that it won't be. And at that point, you really need to just persevere and not get stressed out about it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common for people to stress over
Yeah.
like the depth thing.
And like,
People-
did it work?
Yeah.
Did it work?
Oh my god, I get asked that
am I
literally all day.
hypnotized?
Yeah. I think also for me, I always tell people just enjoy the journey. It is a journey. You're not going to start out and be like the best person, being hypnotized ever. And your trance experience is going to change over time. So just enjoy it and make the most of it. Don't be focused on the end goal. Be focused on every different experience. And every time you do it, just think, okay, well, what happened that time that was different? What about that time made it cool? What about this time was exciting, So, yeah. I think a lot of different people can learn to use different inductions, especially if you come into the community and you want to be a top. Like, don't just learn one induction, learn 5 inductions, or 6 or 7, or different techniques that you can then blend into other stuff, and just keep educating yourself. Even if you've been around for like 10 years, you can still go read a book. You can still go learn something that you maybe didn't know.
You can still go to a convention
and go to a 101.
I know whenever we do our 101s, we also say, like, look, even if you've been doing hypnosis for years, you're more than welcome to come along, because you might learn something new. But also we try to sort of facilitate a discussion around it too, so people can share their experiences. And sometimes, like, as a group, you might work out something that an individual person there hadn't realized before, sort of thing.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's awesome and fun, and I like it.
Well, and I'd ask the question to Wise Guy: does he feel like it's the same inductions and techniques, just different names as time has gone on from when he first started? And he said, no, really the interesting thing for him is that he'll stand back and he'll watch people do it, and it might be, you do it completely different than he does, or Lee might do it completely different than you do, and everybody has their own particular way of doing it. And he just loves the fact that he helped bring that into the community. That there are so many things that he maybe had a small hand in making sure that it was out there, that people felt empowered to do it. And I think that is absolutely correct. I mean, it's just all about making sure that you understand it is a journey. My journey started at the beginning of this year, and it has been amazing. The rough start, but how things have progressed since then. And you just practice and learn. I think your comment about scientific induction is really important too, because it really is almost the scientific method. You experience something, you figure out how did it work, what worked well for you, and then walk away going, all right, well, so maybe a confusion induction is not the best way to do it for me. Maybe it's something that's more kinesthetic, or how do I really take these pieces and put them all together? So yeah, I mean, I think that's great advice.
I know that's one thing that we really enjoy. It's like, because I can sometimes have a bit of a picky brain, so when we play, it's sort of a mix of what does work, what doesn't, and we sort of experiment around with little bits and pieces, and then we sort of work out the combination of what works and what doesn't, and it's all through trial and error. Because every person's different. Like, for one person, one thing might work first time. For another person, you might have to really practice hard on it, or try to look at it in a different way, or some sort of different method or metaphor used within your suggestions. So
it's really cool. So I know that you've talked about it before, but I mean, what's one rumor that each of you, or I guess one rumor or myth about hypnosis that you would love to just dispel from the community entirely? Something that every time you hear it, it just is like, oh my God, I'm so tired of hearing this. What do you guys both have as far as something along those lines?
There's so many. So many. We started a podcast about this because there's literally so many. On my YouTube channel, we now do something called Hypno-Kink News, where we literally just sit down and talk about the talking point of the day on Twitter. Because every time I see things on Twitter, I'm just like, why are people still discussing this? I don't know. And especially it's funny because, like, now I'm certified and Alice is about to be certified. It's so different looking at kind of the skills that we learn in those courses versus from when we first started out in the scene. I mean, things have changed a lot. And I think people are a lot more open to education these days too. But I know for me personally, like one of the biggest myths I'm always seeing is, oh, I've tried hypnotizing so-and-so and they can't be hypnotized. It's like the thing I hear all the time, and it's really actually kind of disturbing that people go around telling other people they can't be hypnotized. I have an example of my local kink scene. So we had this one guy that I used to deal with all the time, and it was really frustrating because he would hypnotize like every girl that we had in our kink group. And eventually he'd be like, oh, well, I tried these inductions on this person. They didn't work. So I guess they just can't be hypnotized. And I would feel so sad because he's now just told that person they can't be hypnotized. Now they've got a preconceived notion about something. And now if they ever decide to go about trying to, you know, do hypnosis in the future, they're going to be marred by this, well, I was told I can't be hypnotized, you know? And it becomes this kind of horrible self-fulfilling prophecy that then they just think, oh, well, that's it for me, you know, and it just closes their mind to a kink that might have been, you know, a favorite of theirs if they actually tried it in a different way, you know? So I always say to people, look, if you have an induction and it doesn't go so well, I've done this myself at many a play party. I've gone to the play party. People are like, hey, can you do hypnosis on me? I'm like, sure, let's sit down and discuss this. We'll discuss it. Something will happen. Try the induction. Doesn't go the way I want it to go. So I go, okay, let me go home and think about this, because clearly your brain needs something else to go into trance. But don't worry, we're going to figure it out. Let me go home, let me think about it, and I'll come back to you on that. And eventually it works. So, you know. What about you, babe?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, like you said, there's too many to choose from.
Yeah. Guess what was the one we were talking about the other day? There's like always, Alice and I literally like, our entire day is just like me going, there's something on Twitter, and Alice goes, what now? And I go, oh, let me read it. And then we just go,
my messages like get filled up with like her sending me tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's like, what do you think about this? Should we talk about this?
Does this need to be discussed? I need to discuss this at length. Thanks, Corona. This is like post-apocalypse. This is how life is now. Me just like responding to people's tweets. But yeah.
I guess one sort of...
It's okay.
Yeah. Brain.
It's
Come
okay.
on.
It's okay, baby.
I guess one thing which I think is sort of like a lot of people, an assumption a lot of people make is that like hypno kink needs to be sexual.
Oh, yeah.
I know we were listening to one recording of like someone's class, and like the first thing they said was hypnosis is sex.
Yeah.
And sex is hypnosis. Yeah. And we were kind of sitting here going like, okay, but does that mean that we can't do hypnosis because we're ace?
Oh yeah, we're very, very asexual. Hi.
So like a lot of people just kind of go like, oh, hypnosis kink, like that's a kink, and kink is sex, right? But sort of for us, at least, it's a much more sort of intimate thing. Like it's not sexual, but it's sort of like a very close, intimate connection when we engage in hypnosis.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point, though. I mean, there have been plenty of hypnosis sessions that I've done that have nothing to do with sex. It's all about exploring your mind and figuring out new ways your brain can do stuff. I mean, the skills that you pick, like, how is hypnotic amnesia effectively sex? It kind of isn't.
Yeah.
If that's the only thing that you're doing is like,
Yeah, and also linked to that, a lot of people have this sort of like lofty ambition of the hands-free orgasm.
Oh God.
so they go like, this is like my end goal. This is the pinnacle of erotic hypnosis. And I think just sort of as a community, maybe sometimes when you take a step back and go, okay, but it's not actually all about sex. Like even something like rope, because like we've dabbled in rope, and tying someone up isn't necessarily about sex. It's about connection. It's about like power dynamics. So there's a whole heap of other aspects that you can play with that don't involve anything sexual at all.
I always say it's like sexy versus sex.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
things can be sexy without being sex.
Yeah.
You know?
It can be sexy without being sexual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
No, I mean, those are great points. I know that I've had that same conversation with a couple of people before where there are some people who fetishize hypnosis, who really get charged by it. And then there are other people who just enjoy the hypnosis for what it is. And you can separate those two very easily because it's not always about, you know, like you said, being sexy or about, you know, something that has to involve. I mean, there have been so many times where people have done emotion play, or if you've done something with just constriction, you know, hypnotic bondage, something along those lines. It doesn't have to be sexual. It's just, can your mind do this? Yes. Oh my God, this is absolutely cool. I can't move my legs. Yeah. Wait, are my legs asleep? Hang on. Whoa. Yeah. No, I mean, that's really cool. And I'm sure that everybody really appreciates that. So now that we've talked about the myths that you don't like, now what is one of your favorite kinks with hypnosis? Something you
oh boy.
Oh boy.
Say, oh boy. How long do we have? Go, Alice. You first.
Oh God. Okay. Some of my favorite kinks with hypnosis. It's honestly probably a tie between bimbofication and drug play.
Yeah.
For me.
Or bimbofication, drug play.
Yeah, but both are always good together.
Why exclude one?
This is the problem.
Yeah,
exactly. This is the problem with making content, right? Yeah. Is literally, I dabble in so many of people's kinks that you end up taking on new kinks yourself. Like literally the amount of times somebody's been like, you should do this. And I'm like, why would I do that? And then like 2 months later I make it and I'm like, oh, that's why I do that. Okay, no, that's I mean, fair.
It's the same as like scrolling through Twitter and you go, why are people into that? And then like you see it again and you're like, actually, I'm kind of into that.
Yeah. But to be fair, that's kind of how Bimbo was with you, though, wasn't it?
Because
I was super into Bimbo play. Like, back when I was, like, 18, 19, I was with a guy, and he got me kind of into Bimbo play. Because literally one day he's like, okay, so you don't like Bimbo stuff, right? I was like, no, I'm not into that. I find that kind of degrading, actually. And he was like, yeah, but think about it this way, right? You're smart, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay, yeah, but what if you didn't have to be? Wouldn't that be so much more freeing than being smart all the time? And I was like, fuck you. Oh, man. Why do you do this to me? So then I was like, okay, so
when we started playing, then she's kind of like, oh, well, let's try this. And I was like, that's actually really fun. Yeah. And then it sort of became one of our staples, really.
It's kind of like something also that we're known for at this point, which is kind of ironic because when I started making content, I got into like amazingly large beef with one of the like biggest bimbo content creators on the internet, and I stopped making bimbo content for a while, and people were always like, but we loved your bimbo content, please stop making it again. And when I started making it again, I was just like, you know what, I think that we should start taking some of the traditionally femme aspects away from bimbofication and make it more neutral. Because I don't think that kinks should be for just one subset of people, regardless of whether or not you want to talk about the discussion around, you know, labels and things like that. Yeah. You know, I think that if a guy wants to be a bimbo, he can be a bimbo. You know, if a trans person wants to be a bimbo, they can be a bimbo. If somebody who's non-binary wants to be a bimbo, they can be a bimbo too. Yeah. So I know for us, it's like one of the kinks that we're kind of at this point known for creating, which is the gender neutral bimbofication stuff.
Yeah.
And we taught a few classes in it actually because it's kind of like a passion of ours. We love it. We think it's fun, and we think other people should enjoy it too in a way that's not unfeminist or you know, going to be degrading to any one person.
I know after we did our bimbofication class at EHU, like we both got several people messaging us going like, I never thought I'd be into it, but then after like seeing this or like seeing the video you guys put out about it, I went, actually no, I think this might be something that I'm interested in. Which I think is really cool about teaching, when you sort of open people's minds to, and they go like, oh, this isn't really something I like. And then they see it from a slightly different perspective because of how we teach it.
Taking away misconceptions and misunderstandings about it too. Like you said, taking away the gender aspects and making it more open to everybody.
And taking away a lot of the sexualized aspects, because like, sure, some people like that in their play, but also some people don't like that in their play.
Yeah.
And either way, like, you can have a great time.
Yeah. And especially like when I say, like, when I make content, I like making everything very, very specific. So if a certain person's like, hey, I like being a bimbo, but I don't like it to be sexual, they're like, okay, you can have all the bimbo play without the sex stuff. Or, hey, I like my bimbification to only be sexual stuff. Okay, cool. You can have all your sexual stuff. It's right here in this separate experience, you know, so people can kind of more tailor their things. Yeah. But yeah, no, kinks and hypnosis, my God, there's like so many at this point.
Yeah.
For me personally, I really enjoy a lot of role playing. I love role playing. I'm a theater kid. I started doing theater when I was about 17, and I played a lot of different roles on stage, and I think it really helped with the hypnosis thing because you can kind of step into all these different roles and be able to get people to like go along with what you're experiencing. Because in my brain, I can be like wherever I want to be, you know, and now with hypnosis, I can take literally everyone else on that journey too. We can all be on that spaceship, or we can all be in that castle, or we can all be doing this thing in this dungeon, you know, even like miles and miles away from each other. So yeah, I know now we go to like dungeon parties and stuff, and it's kind of empowered me to try other kinks. Like I've done hypnosis in combination with bondage. I've done hypnosis in combination with impact play. Yeah, I had one of my favorite sessions ever actually was with a friend of ours at a local dungeon here. And she really likes impact play. So we did this impact session with the local pro dom who was helping out a little bit. And then afterwards, I was just looking around the room and I thought to myself, well, this is kind of fun. And she's like tied up. She's like hypnotized and a bit fractionated at this point. And I was just like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if every time you looked at someone else's scene, you just felt exactly what they feel right now? And as she looked around the room, she's like, oh, my God. It was just the best time ever, you know. And just like things on the fly like that, I love stuff like that. Yeah, we do a lot of bimbo stuff, we do a lot of drug play stuff. Drug play is very fun. Ironic, we've never done drugs, but like we're so into drug play. We're like those people, you know. But we like uber fantasy drugs too. Like we like stuff like the chloroformy stuff. We like the stuff that you definitely probably couldn't do in real life because it may just kill you. But in hypnosis, it's like amazing. What else? Brainwashing. Do a lot of brainwashing fantasy. Get a lot of requests for brainwashing fantasy because, I mean, you know, brainwashing is fun. It's a fun time for all.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But yeah.
That's awesome. And that's kind of the neat thing because you're right. There are a lot of kinks that you don't even really know about, and then all of a sudden it just takes that one. I fully admit that IQ play was something that I never really thought would be very interesting in the first place. And then it ended up being a session where somebody like took my intelligence and halved it and had me explain the same question at every level. And by the time I got down to the lowest level, I'm just like smiling and like, and afterwards my brain's like, okay, what the hell just happened here? It is amazingly fascinating, the stuff that you can get your brain to do. Like you were saying about the impact play. I mean, hell, Wise Guy did that in his class. Every time I hit you with this, it's like getting hit with a thuddy. You know, your body remembers these things.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And kinesthetic people in trance are absolutely amazing, especially when you like when you take full advantage of their kinesthetic powers. Oh, what was that one thing we did with them at that party that one time? Oh, the freeze trigger. Oh my God. So I have this fun freeze trigger in a friend of ours, where basically every time I booped her on the nose, she froze in place. And it was so funny because we were at a party once, okay, and her girlfriend is a little, and I was showing her girlfriend this trick. I was like, do you want me to show you this fun trick I put in her? And she's like, oh, I mean, I'm a little bit nervous about hypnosis, but okay. Oh, yeah, show me. So I showed her, and she was like, this is actually the coolest thing ever. And what she was doing is, because she was in little space, she was like grabbing a bunch of things and stacking them on her head while she was frozen, and then unfreezing her and watching all the things fall.
And then she was like, you've given me too much power.
We're like, we know. You're welcome. Have fun with that. And she's like, I think I might actually.
All it takes is a little idea planted in the right place, and it's amazing what can happen, folks.
Yeah, I know. And I'm always like, we're like those people at the munches and the BDSM parties who are like, look, if you watch us closely enough, you might see something cool that you might like.
We often at parties get people come up to us going like, you guys going to do any play tonight? And we're like, we've done 3 scenes in the corner. Like, have you not been watching? And like, I know one of them was like I was tied to a cross, and they didn't even notice that. But then the rest of the play that we did that night was so subtle, like no one actually realized. And then we just saw like one person sitting like on the couches across the room, like looking at us with like this smile, like knowing, like this sort of knowing smile from across the room. And we're like, okay, someone's been watching.
Yeah, someone knows. Everyone else doesn't. Yeah.
That's awesome. See, and this is how you get other people just invested in it and just interested. Oh, wait, you were totally doing a scene over there. We had no idea. Ooh. Shivers.
Ooh, magical.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, what's one of the hardest things you find as a content creator about making things for other people to enjoy your work? Is it the fact that there are so many different kinks out there that you have to be so careful about things, that you have to really put yourself out there? I mean, what do you find being very difficult about being a content creator in this community?
Yeah, I think, well, at first it was the idea of having my face out there, because like I was, when I started my channel, I was teaching preschool, and people were like, whoa, you were a teacher? I was like, yeah, legit. Like, if people found out about that, it could have been a really like a bad thing. But I think for me it was kind of like that step of, well, I really like this is my passion, this is what I want to do, so I have to take that step to kind of get people invested in what I want to do, you know, because I have a lot of passion about this, and I think getting that across to people has always been something that I'm really like, no, this needs to happen, you know. Another thing I get is all the time, it's just the answering people's comments. My God, like when you get to a certain point, there's like comments every single day on every single video that I have, and you know, I'll notice occasionally like a video will just blow up and I'll be like, whoa, okay, now I've got to answer all these comments and trying to, you know, still keep connection with people when there's just so much happening all the time. I think is quite difficult. And people have a lot of requests, you know. I constantly get asked for strange stuff that I'm like, okay, haven't thought about that, but I might go think about it now. You know, so I guess it's kind of a mixture of keeping myself happy and keeping everyone else happy at the same time. Yeah.
I'm sure that's gotta be very difficult.
Yeah, it definitely is. And sometimes also keeping, like, a lot of people have this idea that being a content creator is like all fun, all happy all the time, but you know, you do get some hate out there, and I still get comments from people. Like this week I got an email from somebody who was like, do you know what you do is evil and you should delete your entire channel because you're actually perpetuating this like evil hypnosis
thing. You're going to destroy
thing.
the world with your hypnosis channel.
Delete
it now.
And I was like, wait, what? Have you thought this through before you sent this email? You know, so there's always going to be haters and naysayers out there who are like, hypnosis is bad, hypnosis is wrong, like you shouldn't be doing it. But at the same time, you know, this is what I do, this is what I love, and ain't no one gonna deter me. I'm a Scorpio, like I'm set in my ways.
I think one of my favorite first videos that I saw of you was you were doing debunking hypnosis in movies.
Oh yeah.
And Now You See Me Too. You know, that was I love the first movie. So then the second movie comes around and I watch it, you know, love the movie and all, and you're going and debunking everything, and I'm just laughing, going, all right. 6 months later, I watch the same video and go, yep, she's right. Totally right. Oh my God. What the hell?
Flashing lights in a tunnel don't work like that.
Right?
Oh my God. I think that, like, honestly, Hypnosis Reacts series is so fun to make because people are like, you take this way too seriously. I'm like, no, I take this just seriously enough, people. And they're like, no, I think you take it way too seriously sometimes. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, you might think that, but at the same time, I think it's fun to be able to pull apart the media that we all kink off. Because I mean, I guarantee there's like 5 people out there who's watched that movie and gone, oh, this is so hot. Oh man, this would be so good for a scene. And that's so awesome. Good for them. But also at the same time, how do you make that actually happen?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm interested in. That's where my passion is. So I'm like, yeah, we can kink off that all day. But also, if you can actually make it happen and make it more realistic, then yes.
Oh, look, there's an evil idea. We should go with this. Yeah. Hang on. Let's deconstruct it. All right.
Exactly.
That's bad for our intelligent brains to do that. Oh, look, we should totally do this. How do we do this?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, as far as being a content creator, do you feel that you still have a duty to educate as well as enthrall? I mean, obviously, you've made a number of comments about it. Do you feel that it's a duty as part of it, or is it something that you do because you are so passionate about hypnosis?
Yeah. So for me, I knew education was going to be a part of the channel when I first started it. Like from day one, I was like, this is definitely going to be a part of this. I'm definitely going to make more educational content. One of the reasons why I actually made the channel in the first place was because I was seeing a lot of people in the community not understanding hypnosis. And for me, it was just like this whole, like, I'm one of these people that it's like, if I don't understand it, I don't feel okay doing it to somebody. So I need to go and research it more. I need to learn as much as I can, and then I can do it. So as I was starting out as a hypnotist, I was like, you know what? I think that if I could make something that made people a little bit more inspired to go and educate themselves, then maybe we could have better standards in the community.
Yeah.
So that people online, especially because, again, I came up in the online scene. I did a lot of online play. You know, for a long time, I was very, very alone here in New Zealand. You know, I didn't have anyone here to do IRL stuff with until like a couple of years ago when Alice came and visited me, and, you know, her and I started doing stuff. But yeah, before that, it was just like everything's online. So you were seeing all of these little mistakes people were making with consent, with safety, with even hypnosis technique, like basic hypnosis 101 stuff that, you know, people should know. People just didn't know. So I was like, okay, we need to make this a bit more accessible to people. So yeah, that's where the educational stuff came from. And me, with my background in teaching, I was like, you know what, I can be the person to do this. So I think it is really important that if you have a platform and you have a voice, that you do share some education, or at least show that it is important to have education when it comes to hypnosis kink. Yeah, it makes it a little bit less accessible than some other kinks. But I mean, if you pick up a thing of rope, you're not just going to go and tie someone straight away. You know, you need to know a little bit about body safety. You know, you need to know a little bit about the ties and stuff. It's same with hypnosis. Yeah, so that's how I feel about it anyway.
Oh, no, and that's great points, because one of the comments Wise Guy made to a question that I'm asking here in a minute is, people have started to embrace consent in the community. That's one of the big functions at Charmed, is teaching people about consent. That was one of the big important lessons you guys did, even in your Hypno 101 class, was consent is important. You know, you have to be aware of what you're doing, because really, let's think about it. You are trying to dip into somebody's head. This is not something that you're always going to see 100% of the ramifications. You just want to be able to make sure that everybody's willing, understands, that everybody's on the same page. Communication is just such a key component.
Yeah, huge. And I think consent has come a long way in the last, even 4 years. I mean, both you and I were around the scene back in like 2016. I joined Discord in 2016, and I was a submissive back then. And I can tell you, I've been in so many situations where consent was not even a question. Consent was not even asked. Things just happened, and they happened that way because they could. And if someone like myself said no, which I did a couple times, I was the one penalized, not anyone else. So I think, it's horrifying, absolutely terrifying stuff. And I had to go through a lot of experiences of being literally barred from certain Discord servers for being too easy to hypnotize and too easy to get to say yes. Yeah, and then saying no in lieu of what's happened. And you can see it even, it's kind of like, for me, I find it almost shameful, like some of the history, because it's like on my YouTube channel, way back in my early live streams, you can see some of the situations that I used to get into with people who would just get into the comments of live streams and trigger stuff off because they wanted to, because they felt like they could, and because it would work. Even if I said, no, I don't think I'm going to do that today, they would be like, no, I don't care. So now we're both like very passionate about consent. And I think it was so interesting having the experiences that we did, because I know when you and I started working together, we had this whole thing of like, we don't want to hypnotize anybody we don't know. And for the time, that was a shock to people. People were horrified. Wait, you mean you get to know each other first before you hypnotize them?
It goes back to like the whole on Kick and Omegle, the first thing you do is send a giant script or spiral to the person, sort of thing. So there's really been a bit of a shift away from that, at least in the communities that we're in.
Huge.
I know there's still quite a few communities out there where it's like, if you join this server, you are consenting to being dropped at any moment inside this server or outside. Which, yeah, no.
And we've been really vocal about that. And I think change has come slowly, but it's come, and I'm very happy for the changes that have happened.
People are a lot more aware about consent and safety.
And consent on files too. Files used to be such a, I mean, I always joke to people, oh, it's like the Wild West out there, but it literally was like the Wild West out there back in the day. People would post stuff and not even tell you what was involved. Like, not at all. They give you a title and that's all you got to go off. And for me, when I first started, these are the people that I looked up to were doing that. So for me, I was doing it too. And then I thought to myself one day, wait, why, if we're doing such dangerous stuff, aren't we telling people that we're doing it? Surely it doesn't make the experience any less, you know? And I have people tell me now that they actually appreciate the fact that I write a long essay with everything that I post. Because then they read it and they go, it actually makes me more excited to see what it's going to be like, because I read it on the paper, I go, damn, that's hot. You know, it's almost like the primer ready to go into it.
And then also we've also had a couple people go like, yeah, I probably would have listened to that file, but then I read the description and I realized there are actually a few things in there which I know are hot topics for me and I don't want to touch. So like, because of that description, I avoided a potentially damaging situation to myself.
So I think we think it's very important. I mean, we could speak on hours about consent, but like, that's us. We're just glad that it shifted the way it shifted, I think. Yeah.
Well, and I think to your point, when it comes down to files, what do you have to fear about explaining what's going on? I mean, there are a lot of people out there I know who will post the scripts at the same time they post files. And maybe like from my brain, it's like, well, I don't want to read the thing. I want to hear the thing. But your descriptions are always so, hey, laying it out. Here's the goal of it. Or, you know, here are the triggers. Here are the things to be aware of. And you see that in some of the really great content providers. I think people who take the time to help you understand, hey, here's what you're gonna possibly run into. You know, do you find it hot or not? If you don't find it hot or you find problems with it, don't listen, please. We want you to enjoy the content. We don't want you to, you know, damage yourself or have a really adverse reaction. Yeah,
exactly.
So would you guys say that one of the biggest changes that you've seen happen in the community is consent over the last 4 years?
Yeah, it's, for me, it's a tie between consent and safety, and also to some extent inclusivity as well.
Yeah.
I've noticed that sort of, and again, I don't know whether this is just because of the places we hang out these days online, but there's been a huge sort of shift towards like including trans people, including non-binary people, including asexual people
of color.
Yeah. And like,
which could be better.
Yeah, it's nowhere near perfect, and that's why I know Dylan, the Secret Subject, was working on a inclusivity video essay.
Yeah.
So
which is in the process of being edited right now.
Yeah. So we sort of asked for different voices within the community to talk about their inclusion within the community. But yeah, I know when we first started playing, a lot of people sort of went to her and said, wait, you play with trans people? Why do you do that? That's so weird. Like a whole heap of like sort of cishet guys, cishet male tists would come up and be like, why do you do that? That's just weird playing with a trans person.
Yeah, I got known as the, in my local BDSM scene, I got known as the trans person or the trans friendly person, because literally like every time a trans person would come to the group, they'd be like, oh, they need to go talk to the Secret Subject. She likes trans people. And I'm like, what? Like, it's not that I like trans people. I'm just super inclusive of all people, you know, like, and if a trans person is into hypnosis or what I'm into, then cool. We're going to have a lot in common, aren't we? Regardless of if they're trans or not, like, I don't care. And I know I got that too on my channel in the early days. A lot of people would comment on videos with Alicin, my friend Penny, who's in a couple of my videos, and they'd be like, do you only play with trans people? It's like, no. I don't only play with trans people. I just happen to know a lot of trans people.
Right.
Like, so what? Like,
Yeah.
my favorite humans happen to be trans people. Whoop do you freaking do? Like, maybe if I had more cis het friends who wanted to play, who were cool, then sure, I'd have cis het people on. But like, my friends happen to be trans. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with the consent thing too. Like, it's been such a massive shift in the community that consent is now talked about. Consent is now like a thing that's people always want to discuss, and it's especially why we go to Charmed as one of our favorite conventions to go to. Charmed for us has just stepped up the game when it comes to consent policies, and we were so happy to see some of the shifts that were made even just this year in their consent policies.
I know it was a bit controversial.
Yeah.
Some of the
but we were very
moves that
pleased.
they did, but yeah, well, once people sort of stopped complaining as much about it and actually read it, and actually let it like be explained and read what it was, I think a lot of people then realized, actually, no, this is a shift for the good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because I know there's still some shifts being made with convention culture and consent, and how should consent be handled at conventions. And I think that Charmed is definitely like leading the way when it comes to policies. I know you and I, like, our first convention was Entranced, which is now Beguiled. That was their last Entranced they ever had back in 2018. And I remember when we went, they make you do a like an introduction talk where they discuss consent in depth.
There was
which
the
is very
orientation
good.
of what they expect consent to look like at the con, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, and Alice and I both like looked at each other and went, this is great. I'm so glad about this, because we've been in so many situations online where people have not regarded consent, and it's been like, oh, so to hear people actually be like, no, this is valued, this is important, and we're going to make it important at this event was so good for us. Hey. Yeah.
Well, and from my perspective, I learned a lot when I first went to Charm this year, because I just right prior to going to the convention, I had gotten involved in my local kink community. I had gone to a lesson about pronouns from one of my local community members who held a class, and I had never really spent the time to think about them. And then I went to Charmed, and you were not getting about the inclusivity, that there were so many people. You honestly, I've gotten in the habit of using they as the most common pronoun for everybody until I know what they actually are or what they identify with, because you just never know. You want to be inclusive. You want to be open to that. And honestly, that was just such a bar for Charm, that it was so amazing to see that happen, that it opened my eyes, and just was really happy to see all people of every type just being able to play and do whatever. Nobody really looked twice at anybody walking around in any kind of outfit or anything. Yeah. Yes. A little bit of gush there, just because, still my first convention. I know. So, I mean, what's one thing you always want to see more of in the community? What's something you would love to kind of raise up as maybe a more personal goal that you guys have towards encouraging in others in the community? I mean, obviously, consent we've just discussed at length. Are there other things? Is it you want to see more people creating content of their own type? Do you want to see people, being more open towards creating online communities? What would you like to see more of kind of happening?
More people in New Zealand.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
There is that.
Yeah.
There was actually a discussion about a Australia con. I got an email about it last February. That's probably not going to happen at this point because of, plague times. But after plague times, maybe we might have an Australia con. Fingers crossed.
Well, definitely, like, sort of more accessible cons in countries other than America will definitely be good, because I know there's 5 cons in America, and then 1 in Europe.
No, there's so there are actually UK is not part of Europe anymore.
Yeah,
Never mind.
And then 1 in Europe, there's 1 in the UK.
Yeah.
And then that's about it for well-known hypnosis conventions.
Yeah, exactly. So I think once AussieCon gets off the ground, I think we'll be definitely seeing a lot more people down this way, kind of making stuff, doing stuff. I always tell people, make the porn that you want to see in the world. If you have a passion for content creation and you want to do it, then just do it. We're seeing a time now where like everyone and their mom wants to make hypnosis files, and that's awesome. And I'm super excited about that. Seeing lots and lots of different voices and different perspectives, because everybody has such different views on everything. The only thing I would want to say is I want to see more people creating content who are also passionate about educating themselves and obviously consent stuff. Yeah. So
and
I
on
think
that
that's
topic,
important.
I mean, as far as education goes, I mean, so there's Wise Guy's class that he does. There's the Mind Play book, which is a big thing. What other like sources of education do you really recommend? Because honestly, as an individual who started investigating a ton of stuff, if somebody describes a type of induction, for example, hair pull induction, you go try to look that up online to explain that to somebody, you can't find anything. There is no conversation. You go to YouTube and make the mistake of looking up just the word hypnosis. The 1,001 videos of all types, and you just can't find how those good videos to understand more about it. So, do you guys have any recommendations for everybody to educate themselves?
Well, I hear that there's this weird person on YouTube called The Secret Subject.
Stop.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, who makes a few videos on educational topics within hypnosis.
You can't see it on the video, but she is blushing up a storm right now.
I always do this every time. I feel like such a shill, like being like, hey, check out my stuff. But I have an entire playlist for educational content in hypnosis. This is specifically for hypnosis kink, so I only cover topics about like hypnosis and hypnosis kinky adjacent things on my channel. But I do know there are a couple of like BDSM YouTubers out there who are doing a fairly good job of pushing BDSM education out further. If people want to know more stuff about stuff that's not hypnosis, like I know Evie Lupine, What's the Safe Word? Amazing channel out there who does all kinds of cool stuff. And one coming up is the MP Project with Madam Posh. I know they've been making some really cool like rope focused videos, and also just like kink videos where they give you ideas, which I think is always handy.
They also did a whole heap of sort of like inclusivity within like at least their local kink scene. Videos as well.
Very eye-opening discussions on that as well. But in terms of hypnosis education, it's actually really hard to find like good, decent hypnosis kink information. And even some of like the BDSM YouTubers who discuss it, if they don't have hypnosis community people on, then they end up saying stuff and it's like, and then we have to like kind of mitigate those situations. Like my edge play video that I recently made, we had a bunch of people say hypnosis is edge play.
They said that it was the same level of risk as blood play, I believe.
They compared it. They compared it to blood play and almost like what was it? Almost like cannibalism play kind of stuff.
Something like that.
It was really like, what? So if you go on the BDSM wiki, which don't do it because I did and it was a bad time. The BDSM wiki says hypnosis super dangerous. Do not do it. And I'm just like, what?
And then like 2 paragraphs later, it goes through about how to do it. After saying don't do it. So
hilarious.
We all learned from Dr. Strange. Remember, you should put the warnings in front of the spell. This way everybody knows. Yes.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I always find conventions are pretty good if you are able to go to conventions.
Now they're online, you can.
Now they're online, so there's no excuse to not go to Charmed 2021.
Thank you.
We're really not forcing them to plug this, we swear.
No, we just like it that much. We are not biased.
Because they're online, they're a lot more accessible. And I have heard rumors that certain conventions are hoping to keep an online aspect. Even after the quarantine has finished. And like when we can have in-person events. I know I believe one con this year was actually hoping to do it so they would live stream certain in-person classes
Yeah.
So people who couldn't attend a con could still attend some of the classes. Of course, then you have things like the consent of the audience to record, the consent of the presenters, obviously, to stream it. But under certain conditions, I know certain cons have done similar things before. There was one con that actually got a presenter to teleconference in. So the 2 demos were actually at the class in person, and they set up the whole system. So the camera was at the front of the room, only pointing to the 2 demos who had already had, obviously, their pre-talk and negotiation. So the person who was presenting could only see them. And then they had a directional microphone set up as well, so it didn't record any of the other room. And then there was a person who was in charge of sort of supervising the class, who then, when people had a question, they either had the option of like saying it into the microphone, or if they didn't want their voice recorded, then the supervisor would ask it into the microphone on their behalf, sort of thing. So there are certain steps that you can take to allow online conventions, or partially online conventions.
Yeah.
But
which could be really cool in the future.
We always find that conventions are great. We go there for education.
Yep.
I know a lot of people go there to play.
We're those nerds. Yay! We go for the classes.
I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, I go to this convention because the dungeon's so great."
We're like, no.
Like, but if we wanted to go to a dungeon, we have a local pro dom who holds play parties at her dungeons every month,
and she lets me borrow her equipment, so I'm very pleased about that.
So like, we go there to educate and also to get more education, and as well as socialize with people, obviously. But we don't necessarily go there to play. But some people do, and that's fine as well.
Yeah. So definitely, if you are interested in more education, go to the cons. They're a really great source of it. But yeah, like I said, apart from that, I mean, I don't know anybody else making like educational videos or anything like that on hypnosis specifically, apart from
otherwise
my channel.
You really have to start going to books. So
which there are a couple.
Hypnotic Amnesia,
very good book,
by Leah Law, is pretty good, but that's also very specific to obviously hypnotic amnesia.
Sleeping Girls the Brainwashing book is very good for conditioning stuff, if you like conditioning play.
But then a lot of the time, if you want further education, then you have to start looking at more academic articles. So if you want to learn about NLP, a lot of the resources there are quite academic.
And Milton Erickson's books are very old.
Yeah.
They're written in strange oldie English.
There's not a whole heap of sort of recreational hypnosis resources, but there is a lot of sort of hypnotherapy resources.
I think a good resource that people have been kind of underestimating is Twitter. And the hypnosis community on Twitter. So if you really want to be invested into this kink, you should definitely head over to Twitter. There's a couple of lists actually that people have made of like hypnosis people to follow. And that includes a few like heavy hitters in the community who post a lot of content with articles and things like that, which is always good to follow. But yeah, I think more people need to come out and make more educational resources, you know, because I don't want people to be like, well, the Secret Subject does videos and that's it. And I'm like, no, don't just look at my stuff. We need more variety, you know, we need other people saying stuff as well, you know.
Yeah, speaking of those lists, you know, some of us here on this conversation would love to see those lists too, because apparently I might have missed something. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I was really surprised. I was never much of a Twitter person in the first place, but the Twitter community for hypnosis is amazing. Just so friendly, so open, so willing to have a conversation about anything at any time, and they share so much about their experiences. That is just the mind-blowing thing.
After the Tumblr apocalypse, most of the Tumblr community ended up moving over to Twitter. So you get that same sort of feel, but in 140 characters or less, or whatever the limit is these days.
I think it's 205 now.
Yeah, okay.
But now you can tag them into multiple, so you can do a whole chat.
I know. Yeah. So many
things. So, kind of coming to the last couple of questions that I had for you, when you're talking about hypnosis conventions, what's something you feel somebody who's never been to one should know? You know, just a simple tip or maybe a little bit of advice for the first time you go to a hypnosis convention. what should you really do, or what should you really just be aware of, or what do you think?
My biggest thing is the ID, because I know, especially when conventions started going online and they were still doing ID checks to sort of get the verified access to the areas, a lot of people had issues with, oh, but my ID is only in my dead name. Especially like it was a huge problem with a lot of trans people not wanting to do it because they're like, oh, but it's in my dead name and I don't like, why are you making me reveal that? But at the end of the day, like, yes, they need to check ID. Like, part of it is to make sure that you are 18, which
they're just
like
trying to keep you
it's
safe.
trying to protect you as well as everyone else who's at the convention. Because obviously, as soon as you get one person in a community of adults doing adult things who isn't an adult, everyone in that community is at risk. And everyone at that event is at risk. Because I know a couple of Discord servers were shut down because someone reported like there was a minor in there to Discord, and then Discord did this whole like, oh, you can't have minors in here, and then like banned the leaders of the like permanently banned their accounts from Discord and stuff. So
it's quite serious.
There was a whole mess about that. But then the other part is also to protect you from people who are banned from the conventions, because obviously you can change a scene name. If you have a really bad reputation online under one name, you can go to a con under a different name and people won't know it's you. So part of it's to keep you safe, like in the age regard, but also to keep you safe from people who have been an issue at conventions in the past. And it's not like they're checking your ID to take a photo of it and save it somewhere. It's usually literally just one person sitting there. They have a list of everyone who's registered. They look at your ID, they look at the name, look at the date of birth, look at the photo to make sure it's you, and then check your name off the list to make sure you've registered.
Because I know you've heard a lot of people freaking out about that, hey?
I know a couple of months ago there was a huge thing about it all over Twitter of people going like, oh, but you only want my ID so you can dox me, sort of thing.
No one's looking to dox anyone, don't worry.
But the thing is, like, a con has a certain level of
liability.
And like of respect. And if like a list of everyone who attended the con, or they release the names of all the presenters or all of the attendees as a list, then that con's going to get a bad reputation and people are going to stop going there. So it's in their interest to protect that information as much as possible. And like, obviously, storing anything online isn't 100% secure, but it's the same as like if you sign up to a kink Twitter account with an email that's connected back to your real name, it's the same risk. So I don't see how some people are fine with one but not fine with the other.
Right. You have to take that little bit of personal accountability when it comes down to protecting your identity and separating those two. But also, you hope that the conventions that you are going to go to, or the people you're going to work with, that they respect that as well. They do everything they can to make sure that your information is protected.
I think you just got to have a little bit of trust in the community for that.
And I know it can be really daunting the first time, because the first time we went to a convention, my passport was in my dead name. So all of my registration had to be in that. But they honestly don't care. If you register under like a scene name and then you put a preferred name and then you have to put your legal name, they're going to look at the legal name and then they're going to go, oh, that's not actually the name you prefer. So I'm going to use your scene name because that's the one you've given me, sort of thing. So
and no one else sees it apart from the people at the desk anyway. So
and usually there's only like 2 people who are allowed to see the list and the IDs at a convention anyway. So
I think my advice to people is make the most out of everything and don't overbook yourself at the cons, but also don't underbook yourself either. You know, because cons you get out of them what you put into them. You know, if you don't go to any classes, if you don't go to any experiences, you're not going to have a good time, you know? So just go to classes, have a good time, take breaks, drink plenty of water, eat lots of food.
Make sure you actually eat.
Don't forget to actually eat, for like 2 days in a row, that kind of stuff. But
take deodorant.
Yeah,
That's
take
a big thing
deodorant.
in classrooms.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but just like, don't just lock yourself up in your room and just don't do anything, because especially now it's online. It's so much easier to go to classes now because you literally just don't even have to turn on a camera. You don't even have to put clothes on. You can just sit there. Yeah, you can just sit there on your computer now. But yeah, just absolutely make the most out of it. You're paying enough money. Make the most of it.
Well, for sure. And with the push to doing online, it opens it up for so many more people, because then people who can't travel or people who are worried about, the plague currently, it gives them the opportunity to see. Honestly, when they first shut down EHU to do online, I had just gone to Charmed, and then it's like, oh, well, here's the next convention. It's like in a month and a half. I'm like, I really want to go. Damn it, I don't have enough time off. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, look, we're going online. Yay! I'm so sorry that it happened, but yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, we normally only get to one con a year, if that, because obviously coming from New Zealand, it's usually about 20 to 24 hours of flights and waiting around in airports to get to America for most of these conventions. But like with this, we've been able to present at 3 conventions this year.
Which is awesome. So much more than we would have been able to if we weren't. Yeah. Also, when I went to EHU, I met like 5 other Kiwis.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you serious? There's more of you? Where are you? Right? Let's get together, people. I know. So yeah, so we might be able to have a hypnosis community in New Zealand after all. Yay! Woohoo! But yeah.
So I know we've kind of hit on Charm more than a few times, but do you guys have like a favorite thing about Charm compared to other hypnosis conventions that you really like? Or, I mean, you don't have to name other conventions. What about Charmed really draws you back every year?
Yeah. Well, I started going to Charmed in 2019. That was my first one. I went by myself, actually, which I thought going by myself to a convention, like all alone, traveling all that way, and being all by myself was going to be hella dangerous and very scary. But in fact, actually, I had the best time. It was very good. And I was surprised at how many friends I made, how much fun I had, and how, even though I was by myself, nobody discluded me at all. I could go to all the classes and people would still be like, hey, come sit with me, or hey, come talk to me, hey, come do this, and it's very fun and very friendly. So I think, for me, Charmed is one of those places where it's like everybody is just there to have a really good time. Everybody's super duper friendly. And I mean, the place where it's at is so beautiful and so lovely. Yeah. I mean, and it's snowing. You don't get that here. You don't get that at other cons. You don't get the lovely snow and the nice atmosphere to go along with all of the fun and the frolics and things. And I think also, back in Charm 2019, there was a really big issue with the elevators. We called it elevator gate because literally everyone used to get stuck. Everyone got stuck at the elevators going up, going down all day. And you know what? No one was deterred. And I think it was just such a testament to how great the atmosphere of the convention was that literally the worst thing possible could have happened. And people would be stuck in queues everywhere they went, but nobody cared because it was just, we were all just too busy having such a good time. So that's why I like Charmed.
I think also part of it is sort of just the size of it. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the other cons draw a lot of people, but from what I've seen and know, Charmed sort of draws the largest crowd. Mm-hmm. And there also seems to be a sort of large proportion of them that always come back as well. So you sort of get to know people at one convention. Like I know we met some people at Entranced, and then I didn't go to any conventions in 2019. But then in 2020 we go back to Charmed, and then I'm seeing all of these familiar faces again. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, we met here. I just feel like it has a much more of a community vibe because of the size of it, almost.
Yeah.
And like every other convention obviously also has community vibe, but it just has a different feeling when it's just that much bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so much going on. Like, there's just always stuff going on. I think that's just awesome. And there's a couple of like really standout events that I've only seen happen at Charm, like the Speakeasy.
Yeah.
We went to the Speakeasy this year, and I didn't go in 2019.
Yeah.
And it was just so much fun to just watch people having such a good time with the magic potions and, you know, getting hypnotized to feel all the spells and things. It was just so fun, you know, and we've been at so many classes at Charmed where, like, literally by the end of the class, everyone like in front of you, everyone behind you, just you get to know them as the class is going along, you know? Oh man, we went to one class where somebody was like, hey, it me. And it was somebody that I knew from a different class that I've been taking online. Yeah. And then we started hanging out, and then they had friends. So we started hanging out with their friends, and just like everybody just starts forming like lots of different groups. And it's just very fun and very friendly. And yeah I like it.
That's awesome. Well, just as the last thing, do you guys have any fun memories you want to share about Charmed or anything like that? I know we've talked about a ton of stuff about it. Anything fun to incentivize or tease people that, you know, hey, you should come to Charmed because shit like this happens?
Well, my best Charmed moment ever has to be in 2019. I'm so sorry, babe. It was Hallway Gate. It was very fun. Okay, so basically what happened was, because elevator broke, there was like a little part of this hallway right in front of the elevator, and on the Sunday I happened to be sitting there with a friend of mine, and we were just chatting about stuff, and then all of a sudden we gained another friend and another friend and another friend, and about like 20 friends later, we're all crowded around these elevators, blocking the way, probably causing a fire hazard. We didn't care. We're just sitting in the hallway, and there's like people being hypnotized left, right, and center. Some people are chatting about stuff. Other people are like trying to not get in the way of people trying to use the elevator. It was just like the best time, but it just like, it started like as just two people sitting in a hallway, and then just gathered like a small crowd of people. It was a great time.
Similar to that, I remember this year at Charmed. Yeah, well, we
Which one, the noise complaint or the other one?
The noise complaint. Yeah. So early on, we actually had a noise complaint at one point.
Hey, you were there. Don't shake your head.
I know I was. That's why I'm laughing and I'm just smiling over here going, huh?
So I don't know. It's just such a cool environment. Like, even if you don't play, because I know this year we didn't do any hypnosis, like aside from demos. Nope. But just sort of the friends that you meet, going out to dinner, like hanging out, playing Cards Against Humanity,
getting noise
complaints. And then like on the last night, we had that Cards Against Humanity that Cards Against Humanity game where like at one point we had 10 people who we didn't know sitting on our bed, and then like an extra 15 people playing cards, like crowded around in the small like cleared area on the floor sort of thing. Yeah. So you just get in these sort of like I don't know, it's weird, but it's also like these really fun situations where you just didn't think that something like that would happen at a hypnosis convention.
Oh, another fun thing, I just have to throw this in there. Shout out to the person who made the brainwashing track to my obsession file. Okay, so I was walking down the hallway this year at Charmed.
We went into the con suite, and there was,
for people who don't know, the con suite is like a place where there's like tea, coffee, and some snacks for people, because the con is so lovely to provide some food, not all food, but some food.
And there was a person with like a VR headset on. We sort of like get called over there by one of the people there. It's like, so that's actually one of your files playing on the mind melting machine. So I'm gonna wake them up soon. So it'll be really funny if you're just here and you say something just as they're waking up, and I take the headphones off just so they freak out.
So the headphones come off, and I look at them. I'm like, so how was that then? And they're like, the voice from the file, it's you. And I'm like, hi, I'm so sorry for whatever just happened here, but you look like you're having a really good time. Yeah, it was really funny. I've never it was such a cool moment, because like I've never seen people using my files before, apart from obviously Alice trialing a couple, which I mean, it's just Alice trialing a couple, sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, you don't often get to see stuff like that happen. So I think that for me, that was like so like, oh wow, this is really cool. But yeah. And fun stuff like that just happens all the time, which is amazing.
It's just all the little spontaneous things that you never thought would happen, but you're walking down the corridor and suddenly that happens.
Like how all of a sudden the party floor became, the other floor, not your guys' floor, and Minnie and I were both like, "Wow, we're the party floor, huh?"
Yeah.
Yeah, on the final night though, we were quite scared because we were right by the elevator, and of course
Yeah,
somebody left our door open, and then all of a sudden we heard people running in. We're just like, why are we by the elevator? Who did this? Because the second people come off the elevators, they're like straight to our room. We're like, oh, how did this happen?
You were popular. You pulled them all in. It's just the way it
I
is.
know. I can't help it. It just happens.
You had nothing to do with it whatsoever.
I don't know.
Exactly. Well, awesome. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. I know that, I met you guys at Charm this year, and it was just absolutely fantastic. I know that you guys continue to be such beacons in the community for so many things, and everybody really appreciates getting to see you at all the conventions. And I've heard rumor that somebody's going to be doing a class for 2021 Charmed online.
Oh, we hope so. Fingers crossed.
We're hoping we'll do a class.
Yeah, we pitched
we
some.
put in for a couple, so
Fingers crossed.
I mean, fingers. You don't happen to know anybody on the board whatsoever.
No, I know no one. So
right.
I don't have any connections whatsoever.
No, none whatsoever. Anyways, well, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.